Guys, Mihawk. There are a lot of powerful solo acts in One Piece. I mean, you got Mihawk and, well, nah, that's just about it, just Mihawk. In a world where everyone is part of some faction or another, Mihawk truly stands alone, both figuratively and literally. But what if he didn't? What if Mihawk decided to gather a crew? The guy who solos Marines for fun. The man who literally lives in a medieval castle surrounded by sword-wielding farmer baboons and hot goth girls. What if that guy decided to build a pirate crew? And it sounds simple, but this single decision could completely rewrite the One Piece story. Because Mihawk isn't just strong, he's one of those few characters that literally keeps others in check. But why would Mihawk even want to build a crew in the first place? Who would join? And what would it mean for the story as a whole? Well, today we're going to be answering all those questions and more. Without further ado, let's get into the DRACULE Pirates formed. But before we get into forming anything, y'all, I need your help. Like the video, okay? You know that's important for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel for more One Piece and anime content just like this every week. And share it around with all your friends who love this series. You know we always say here, let's get it going. And make sure you subscribe to me and my boys over at CSY. The channel is high flying lately. Now, the most interesting thing when thinking about Mihawk in this role is just how close he was in the original timeline to being an emperor. If he ever truly wanted to exert his dominance, I'm confident that the Cross Guild would be under him right now. In the current timeline already, he has a bounty worthy of being an emperor, as his bounty, 3,590,000,000, is higher than 2 of the 4 actual emperors, including the emperor that he is said to be under. So at that point, why not just give him the title anyway? And before people say, oh, you can't bounty scale, Mihawk is the one character for which you absolutely can bounty scale, because the entirety of his bounty comes from his strength. And I'm not gonna lie, if not for the fact that Buggy's worshippers literally lick his boots and were printing all that kind of crazy media, Mihawk probably would be considered the emperor of that crew. But first we gotta wonder why he would form a crew in the first place. His whole identity is being a loner, prideful, self-contained, and he openly admits that all he wants to do is fight strong opponents. With that being the case, you need a strong narrative trigger pushing him to form one. And I think that there are a couple scenarios that could make sense here. One would start way later than the other two, but it's the idea that after Shanks loses his arm, he no longer has a challenge. And as such, he builds the challenge for himself by extrapolating from just swordsmen to just anybody who's strong. But then of course, to fight other strong people like the other emperors and the Marines, you can't just do that literally alone. Well, it's Mihawk, so maybe he could. Maybe when the government offers Mihawk the position of warlord, he actually gets so irritated with the idea of being a government dog that he does the opposite. Or maybe he forms his crew out of necessity if the other emperors start dominating a bit too much, really inhibiting his freedom to just, well, slice up randos. But regardless, what's interesting here is not why Mihawk would gather a crew, no, it's who would join. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, what if his first recruit was Crocodile? Imagine a crocodile right after losing to Whitebeard, humiliated and just drifting, but still very prideful, potentially even wanting revenge that Mihawk could provide him. Mihawk may be able to see his potential in his cunning ability and ruthlessness, not to mention the Logia Devil Fruit, which is always useful, and he would add him to his crew almost as his right-hand strategist. And together they would actually form a terrifying duo. Mihawk's raw power guided by Crocodile's manipulation, not gonna lie, kind of the way that the current Cross Guild is set up. And we know that Crocodile would join, he's the one in the current timeline who asked Mihawk to team up with him. So we at least know that he's open to the idea of him and Mihawk being together. Pause. Not in that way. Or maybe if he was Crocomom, then maybe in that way. I'm getting off topic. Now all the Yonko, besides Shanks, need foot soldiers. You got the Beast Pirates, Pleasures, Waiters, and Gifters. On the Big Mom Pirates, you have the Chest Soldiers. And even Whitebeard's fleet had just random pirates running around. Y'all, what if Mihawk's foot soldiers were the human drills? The aura of having giant sword-wielding baboons be your infantry, that's actually kind of tough. Very Planet of the Apes. But on top of that, considering that they gave Zoro a run for his money, we know that they're tough as animals can go. I even ranked them pretty highly in my top 20 best animals in One Piece video, which you should definitely watch after this one. Perona. Now Perona could join after the Gecko Moria era, whenever Kuma originally sends her to the Muggy Kingdom to hang out with Mihawk. And just side note, the Muggy Kingdom would 100% be his main territory. Doesn't matter that it's not in the New World? No, because it's Mihawk. Now in this world, Perona's not just comic relief to balance Mihawk out. She damn near becomes his closest confidant, almost humanizing him in a way. Some people think that their relationship was really suggestive in the current story. I never got that. Not only because he's 18 years older than her, but more so because it just kind of gave roommate type of vibes. She's the emotional link between him and the rest of the crew. Now in terms of who else Mihawk might recruit, he is pretty chill with Kuma, all things considered. I was thinking that he could extend an invitation to him, but thinking about it more so now, he only really found out about Kuma after the whole Warlord deal with Saturn was made, so maybe not. But here's the thing, Mihawk aiming to be the strongest swordsman in the world may still recruit other swordsmen to his crew. He may go around looking for people who have potential and trying to sway them to his fold. Maybe he finds Fujitora before the world government draft does, and then his ship could literally become a floating swordsman's guild. Wait, that would actually be a really good idea. Oda, write that down. And then imagine Zoro is trying to join his crew and tries to abandon Luffy, but he's like, nah, you're not strong enough yet. Yo, tension? Now in terms of Mihawk's extended fleet, who else could join? To some degree, I was thinking about the Minks, but then I was thinking, would Mihawk have the charisma to sway them to his side like that? The Minks are very personable people, so I doubt it. But he may at least be able to gain the respect of Inuarashi and Nekomamushi through his strength. But then you gotta ask, well, what about the Giants? Right now, they're basically all extensions of the red hair crew because of how close they are with Shanks. But in this universe, would Mihawk kind of have a similar relationship to them? I'm assuming not, because my assumption is that the reason that Shanks has that relationship with them is because of his adventures with Roger. But I don't know, maybe if Shanks was close with Mihawk and told the Giants about him, maybe they would come under Mihawk too. Pause. Oh my god. Or at least similar to the Minks, because they're a warfaring nation, they respect strength. But speaking of the red-haired rat, not gonna lie, the craziest possibility to consider for Mihawk's hypothetical crew is Shanks. Now what if Mihawk sees him right after he loses his arms to the Lord of the Coast? He may view him as weaker, even pitying him, but yet still knows about his strength from their prior duels. And instead of just being like, well, without your arm, you're basically uninteresting to me, he instead is like, nah, you know what? Come with me. And since Shanks did have the red-haired crew by the point of the Lord of the Coast attack, at this point, would their crew just merge into Mihawk's crew? Because that would make them undoubtedly the strongest faction on the seas, maybe not counting the world government. And I'm not gonna lie, in this universe, Mihawk is just taking Shanks' place while adding Shanks to his squad. Mihawk and Shanks as a duo on one crew may actually be broken. Like the two of them together may be able to beat Emu broken. Now what could this all mean for the future of the One Piece world though? Well, one thing that I thought about with Crocodile joining the crew is that there would be a space open in the Warlords, meaning potentially Ace takes that place, and if Ace takes that place, then that means he doesn't join up with Whitebeard, and that means that basically the entirety of the first part of One Piece doesn't happen. So because that just ends up at nothing, let's ignore that continuity for now. Instead, there's still an open place, but let's just say that Hanafuda doesn't die. Now one large change that would impact the Straw Hats greatly is that if Crocodile goes with Mihawk, the entirety of Alabasta doesn't happen. This means that they never meet Vivi because she now doesn't have a reason to leave her country, and it also means that they potentially don't recruit Nico Robin onto the crew, who was of course part of Baroque Works at the time as she was Miss All Sunday, which also means that inadvertently they would never learn that Pluton's true location is under Wano, since Robin is the one who read the Alabasta poneglyph and learned of that information. At least not until Wano happens and Sukiyaki probably tells them that himself. Now in terms of the whole Blackbeard thing, I doubt that Mihawk would go personally and try to warn Whitebeard about Blackbeard because that's more Shanks' deal. Though he would probably just allow Shanks to go, he knows that Shanks can handle himself. So I doubt much changes there. Unless, what if Shanks tells Mihawk about Blackbeard early on and Mihawk actually recognizes Blackbeard as a threat? If Mihawk takes Blackbeard seriously and starts hunting him, oh, it's raps for Mr. Zehaha. Now of course, one of the most notable things is that Mihawk would not be on the world government's side during the Marineford War, with the lineup of warlords probably being the exact same except replacing him with like Hanafuda or whatever. And even though he frankly didn't do really much of anything, you could still argue that without him, the world government side is a lot less threatening. Now the question is, does he come to stop the war the same way that Shanks did? Well, I think that he wouldn't personally care enough to, but there's a chance that Shanks or somebody else on his crew convinces him to go. Or if anything, he shows up at the end of the war, but it's just like, it's not because I'm here to stop the war. I just want to have fun. But everybody is so scared of him that the war stops anyway. One thing we can be sure about is that Cross Guild just doesn't happen. There's no way that he's taking on such useless weaklings. And regardless of whether he absorbs Buggy's people into his fold or not, Crocodile in this instance would already be part of his crew, therefore establishing way earlier on that this is not a partnership and that he is indeed the one in charge. Just that Crocodile is in charge of the more actual planning and everything like that. Now this does leave a spot open for one more emperor at the end of Wano. When Big Mom and Kaido are defeated, the emperors would be Blackbeard, Mihawk, and Luffy, which leads you to wonder, who would take that final place? If the giants are more free doing their own thing and they just got a huge bump to their bounties, could Dory and Broggy maybe co-share that position? I mean, if you combine their bounties, they have 3.6 billion. So in this what-if world, Mihawk essentially just takes Shanks' place. The quiet stabilizer of the seas with just a far sharper edge. He'd have the same respect, maybe even more fear, and arguably more raw power. But the real question is, would it even suit him? We know his character. Mihawk isn't the type of guy to go searching for power or followers. All he wants is a meaningful conflict. And the irony is, if he really did form this strong of a crew, he might never find another fight worth swinging his sword for again. Unless he takes on the world government and topples it down, and at that point with that crew, I think he could do it. What do you think about Mihawk potentially going out and gathering a crew on the seas? Who do you think would join that I've missed? Definitely let me know all that good stuff and more in the comments. That is the end of the video, y'all, but before we go, like it, subscribe, and share it around with all your friends who love the series, or anime and manga in general, or maybe me. A lot of people say they like my pretty face. That's gonna be all from me. I'll catch you on the next one, and always remember, one piece, one life. Wait, y'all, let's seriously think about everything that Mihawk did during the Paramount War, cause I swear it's not that much. Tried to attack Whitebeard but was ratioed by Diamond Josu, clashed with Crocodile once, clashed with and was stalled by Vista in such a horrid display that his inability to defeat him became a meme, cut an iceberg, failed to cut Buggy despite having all forms of hockey, made an offhand remark about Luffy's power of friendship, and then fled the scene when Shanks appeared. I'm not gonna lie, Mihawk, this is pretty embarrassing.